Today in Unwrapped, we talk about the COP recommendations and the impact they have on common people like us, right? And 6 matters that the Prime Minister has brought up. One is to ensure leaders embody the right values. But then again, what is the right values in politics? Call out wrongs when wrongs arise, mete out punishment when punishment is due, preserve the sanctity of our institutions, never take public trust for granted, and importantly, never allow lies, half-truths and falsehoods to become the accepted norm in politics. The first question would be, what constitutes a lie in politics, Kevin? What do you think?
I mean, a lie is a lie when it affects people, or you look at it from a criminal perspective, under the law, it does have implications, causes a loss of money, or you benefited in some kind. But there is actually a spectrum of mistruth that we need to look at, and would a small mistruth constitute a lie? I mean, we talk about lying having to be factual. Whatever we say has to be factual. So if something's not factual, is it a lie? Or if he didn't know and he didn't say it, is that considered a lie? So I think we need to look at it from a spectrum. But I think the key word now is a lie, and whether you build upon the lie. I think that was or is the crux of the issue on the COP. Yeah.
Raisa took 3 months to correct it. Why do you think she took so long to correct her lie? Or because she was discovered, then she was like, oh yeah, I lied.
I think more like she wanted to champion a cause. And in a way, by championing the cause, she needs to be dramatic, because look, nowadays there are cameras everywhere, including inside the parliament. So it's like, it's a performance. It used to be, I am arguing for the policy, but this time the cameras, so I have to perform. I have to be dramatic. So in a way, I figured she might be wanting to be dramatic. She lied. She allegedly accompanied this girl to make the police report. And when questioned about which police station, when questioned about who the police officer is, she suddenly realized, oh damn, perhaps shit has hit the fan. So she just went on the point where I have to protect the identity of this woman. And she just kept at that. So 3 months, she could have come back the next day and said, I'm sorry, I lied. But then it took 3 months to actually say, I lied. And in those 3 months, she actually built on the lie. Until, I guess, when there's no evidence that there was a report made, the police had wasted man hours looking for this report, that she realized, I better tell the truth.
Now, so she did that crime. She made that mistake. She lied. Shouldn't the punishment stopped at her, Tony?
Yes, personally, I feel that as a full-grown adult, right, we should be responsible for our own actions, and to finally tell the truth, and then to say that, but I was under the influence or the coercion of my party leaders. I think that shows that this, even when she is being honest, she's not being very responsible about lying.
So she dragged the rest into the whole spectrum of I lied. Now,
more like she threw the rest under the bus.
So politics get more colorful and more exciting, right? Now, so she did the lie, but the rest are being questioned about it. Now, if she take 90 days or at least 3 months to correct it, do you think the party leaders knew about it and kept quiet?
I think we all watched the hours of drilling. I mean, they all knew about it.
Yeah.
But it's the actions that they took that I think was a little bit disappointing. I know my house. My house is split into PAP and opposition, and the PAP were all, why Kevin so quiet? Not saying anything, because honestly we were shocked that the high standards that we expect from our politicians on both sides was not displayed by the Workers' Party. So the standards that we were expecting of our politician wasn't displayed. So I was like, oh shit, why 3 months? No, you knew about it. Why did you wait 3 months? Or why were you so silly enough to wait 3 months and don't keep any evidence to protect yourself? So when the evidence came out that the leadership knew that she lied, I think that was very troubling, both from a believer in being honest, and also the implications that from a larger political environment. I think we're in trouble because we saw the opposition being the most credible, but now their credibility is called into question. So that was quite concerning.
But let's look at the individual itself. You are a leader, you take oath to be a leader, you promise to be a good person, and you lied. Now, shouldn't you also step forward and say, I lied, and the rest got nothing to do with it? But for you to drag the rest, now it's just a matter of if I remember Pritam said that, she's a responsible adult. I told her, go out and tell the truth, and she didn't. Now, if Pritam were to go out and say she lied, isn't that killing her own self, killing his own party in parliament? So where does that lead to? At the end of the day, shouldn't the punishment sticks to Raisa because she is the one who lied in parliament?
But Pritam should have done that. Maybe give her that 1 month, and if she still didn't come clean on the second, the first chance that she had, he should have just said, I'm going to intervene, that my party or my member of parliament wasn't truthful.
Either or, he's still shooting himself, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because, if she continued to lie, and if Pritam were to stand up and say, I'm sorry, I have to intervene, I have to say that she's young, she's afraid, she lied, then it might have just sort of buffer it a bit. But the fact that she lied the second time and nothing was said or done, and it was after 3 months that she stood up to apologize, and it's already it's too late. Chinese has this saying where the raw paddy had been cooked and made into rice, and by then it's too late. So you cannot go back and replant it because it's become cooked rice. So I think it would have made a difference. I feel that it would have made a difference.
What do you think? Do you think that the rest should be affected by it? Or just Raisa herself is the one who's supposed to be solely responsible for her doing?
Well, I personally feel that she should be fully responsible for it. We look at a similar case where Minister Vivian Balakrishnan, right, found out, right, that trace together data could be used, right, other than for contact tracing purposes. And when he took some time, right, between knowing and finally revealing that it could be used, he took full responsibility for it. He didn't say that, I'm sorry, I wasn't given the complete information by the police, by this, by that. He didn't do anything of that sort. He stood up and said, I take full responsibility for it. And I think that is something that we should expect of our leaders when they make a mistake.
So they embrace that error, so as to say. But when they say they took the responsibility, I didn't see the COP on him.
No, you see, the thing is that he did not
Lie?
no, I wouldn't say lie.
Or was that a half-truth?
He didn't actually misuse his privilege. It's more like when he found out, when it was I think it was the Minister of State for Home Affairs who revealed that the police used Trace Together and
For a
caught a
case,
few people,
yeah.
right? That was when he realized that, but I said something different. Probably then the next sitting, he actually took responsibility. Now, I wouldn't say it was a lie. I also wouldn't say that he misused his privilege. It's just that he didn't know until it was revealed by a colleague. Then he realized that what is going on? I actually promised this other thing, that it will only be used to trace for health. And that was when he took full responsibility.
Can I say the same thing about Pritam? It's like, okay, he didn't know that that was a lie.
No, he knew.
He knew.
How would
He
you
knew
know?
because it was revealed that he knew at the press conference,
He
at his
questioned her.
own press conference, where he said he questioned her.
He didn't know at the first instance, but I think he knew somewhere in between, right? From the to the point that Raisa made the apology that she lied.
So, shouldn't he push for her to say sorry and the apology was done? So that's still not okay.
I'm not too sure what transpired from the time she lied to the time he found out to the time she apologized. So, there was this, I went to her house, she came to my house, the whole saga of that, and I really don't know what the detail of that, what transpired between that. But I felt that he should have stood up. He should have stood up and sort of stopped her from continuing to lie and said, I have to stop you there. Because I do believe, firstly, there was either no such case, or even if there is such a case, you did not go with the girl.
But in his defense, he was trying to give Raisa Khan the time to talk to her family and to reveal to them that she had been sexually assaulted herself. So if he had done that before Raisa, in his own words, right, before Raisa Khan had gone to her family and given them the heads up, it might affect her and her family's well-being. So that is in his defense.
Yeah, but in this case, right, when you talk about a half-truth or the misconception of the truth, was anyone really hurt in this process?
I think there was. I mean, the whole principle of privilege, it was all thrown in the air. You cannot take your privilege and then say whatever you want. Okay, although privilege, there's no repercussions, but there is in the real world. The police was involved. Your example could have actually affected the person who was really experienced that rape or that incident. So there
Or
are
even all the victims of sexual abuse, they would be affected.
yeah.
See, your champion lied in Parliament. So when you go and make a report to say that you've been sexually assaulted, you might not be believed.
So I think that this COP, this whole lying case, really did highlight the importance of Parliament. I mean, we all never took Parliament so seriously until this, where there was greater explanation about processes, privileges, and the need to not only articulate your points, but from a policy perspective, justify why a particular policy should go ahead. And I think that's where the standards of our Parliament or our MPs need to be at now. So this did throw quite a fair bit. But then there's other implications with this whole COP. Is it a political witch hunt that's going on? And it appears to be. You cannot deny the ground, the people. I see it that it could be a political witch hunt, but it is done within a framework. And if you want to play this game in politics, if you are wanting to be in opposition or even the ruling party, you must keep yourself clean. You must be above board, because the moment you get out of line, you try to take advantage, you lie, you will get caught. So it's an open playing field, and you know what you're getting into.
So in this instance, she who did the lie gets $35,000 slap, but her leaders get criminal implication. How is that even fair?
but it's two separate.
Because from a layman point of view, but someone else did the crime, but someone else get the legal implication to it.
Yeah, because on what transpired during the COP, they lied or they were accused of lying under oath, and that's a criminal offense.
When under the COP, it's almost like a court case, a tribunal kind of thing, and you do have to take an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And once that means you are no longer privileged. So once when you deem to lie, it's perjury because of the oath to tell the truth. And perjury is a criminal offense in a law court.
You mentioned deemed to lie. Would there any proof that these two particular politicians were lying?
I have to admit, I didn't read through the whole report.
Yeah.
That's why I said deemed to lie. Unless if I read through it, I may find evidence that they lied. But since I have not read through the whole report, I cannot say that they actually lied. That's why I used the word deemed.
So the ground feels like, is it fair? Is it fair?
I think that's where I would say it's fair. I mean, let's have our day in court, where it is a platform for you to actually provide all the relevant evidence, So I think being pushed or recommended, the COP recommending it to the PP, I think that could be a blessing because it does give both individuals a chance to actually really air their evidence, and once and for all have an open discussion, and show the facts for what it is, because the COP is a fact-finding agency, a fact-finding process. They hear all the evidence, and then whether they want to take it back to Parliament to motion, and which we just saw yesterday, But when we go to the courts, I think that's where it's a very fair. I would say it's a fair arbitration, whatever you call it. Arbitration. So going to the courts would be a fair arbitration, where two parties, be it the PP and the defense, would lay everything out. And I think that is even more transparent than maybe in the COP.
Do you think they will run through a justified trial?
Personally, I'm of the view that there's a lot of political elements to it, so I highly doubt it. Yeah, but I think that something I'm more concerned about is the trial when it goes to court will be about Workers' Party leaders proving their innocence, right? Trying to prove their innocence in court. But what my bigger concern is that we have seen the responses of Pritam and Sylvia, where Pritam said that some of his evidence was not given due consideration by the COP. Sylvia Lim has also mentioned that contrary to the official view, that her evidence was damaging, it was taken out of context. So my question is, when we talk about fair, is it fair to the leaders of the Workers' Party if they feel that they have not been treated fairly? Is there a recourse for them, to take the COP to task? Because I feel that if Raisa Khan can be taken to task for lying, and they can be taken to task for, encouraging her to keep the lie, should the COP be taken to task if it's found that they have not been objective in their fact-finding mission?
I would like to extend that. Should not the COP be of a total independent body instead of members of parliament or ministers itself? What do you think? I mean, it is just asking a question, hypothetically, do you think it should be someone else instead of the ministers?
I mean, to answer your question, it is an issue within Parliament and it has to be solved in Parliament.
But COP is within Parliament?
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's a committee of privileges.
Yeah.
And the people who have these privileges are people who are in Parliament.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question and Tony's question, I mean, the parliament is an institution with systems and policies and guidelines, and I think it falls within that, and they would have thought of, should an MP lie, should an MP commit a crime, there are certain repercussions. So the COP is there for them to do it, and I mean you can judge whether there's impartial, whether they consider every evidence, but that committee was made up of both opposition and PAP MPs. So I would believe that should there be any irregularities, someone would have spoken up. So I think let's not put the COP on trial. They were just there to gather evidence.
No, it was it was just a question. Just people are wondering, and say, I am wondering, like, shouldn't it be someone neutral instead of the same person in parliament?
Right. Let's not forget, even in parliament, we do have members of parliament who are not affiliated with any parties. We have the NMP, the nominated member of parliament, who are also members of parliament, right? In my opinion. So I think would it have been better to get these people to chair or to be on the panel instead of people affiliated with the ruling party and the Workers' Party? I'm not trying to cite anyone, but when the sole member of Workers' Party on the panel decided against the punishment, we can also say the same thing, right? That he was being partisan about it. He was supporting his party. So could we not have someone, members of parliament who are not affiliated to be on the panel instead?
Being referred to the PP is the best case scenario. You have an independent person. I don't know whether it's a panel of judges or not.
Public prosecutor, no. I think it's only one person.
Judge, yeah. I think that would be fair, because whatever decision he makes, he has to justify it, because it's a public. Everyone will be reading his views, his rationale, and I think it's a perfect place.
But as a politician, right, when you cross over and being handed over to the prosecutor, it's risky for their political career, isn't it? The moment if it's like you're wrong, you're done for, there goes your political career.
I think that's everywhere. I mean, even if you're an MP and you do something wrong, the next election there's a high chance you'll be out. It's a risk. I mean, and that is the highest standard. I mean, in any profession, you need to maintain the highest standards, and the politician is no different. You take it, because you're in that game. So being referred to the PP or whatever, I think it's fine, but I think it gives Pritam and Faisal.
Manap.
Faisal Manap.
Faisal Manap, the best chance to clear their name, and I'm glad they had that chance. Can you imagine if they were not given that chance? What would the motion in Parliament be? I don't know.
Shouldn't whatever stays in Parliament remains in Parliament?
Except because it's under COP, so they were under oath.
So that's the tricky part, right?
Yeah.
How does layman see or divide these two things? How do we distinguish whatever is happening in Parliament and COP, which is still part of Parliament?
I don't think COP is part of Parliament. If it was part of Parliament, it would still be held in Parliament. But COP was plucked out and held at a different location, so to speak. Although some of the players may be the same type, may be the same, but the fact that it's not within the House shows that it is not part of Parliament.
Even though the players are about the same.
And also the fact that the accused or those who are giving evidence have to take a separate oath to show that it is a fact-finding sitting, a fact-finding tribunal, or whatever you want to call it. So it's outside of Parliament. There's no longer that privilege. So in that way, whatever you say, it's the same as speaking in a law court. And if you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, but you didn't tell the truth, the whole truth, you'll be taken to task. It's perjury.
So do you think that public is confused about this COP matter?
There should be some sort of, perhaps some sort of explanation in the media to explain that COP is taken apart from Parliament, rather than, oh, COP is, it's what is being discussed in Parliament, blah, blah, blah. So I think there should be some sort of explanation to tell the people that COP is something outside or apart from Parliament, to look into what has gone wrong or who has done wrong within Parliament. So that it should be some sort of explanation, but maybe I missed it, but I didn't see any sort of explanation in the media or anywhere else.
So I think hopefully we can explain it clearly here, lah. So whoever watches this will understand. But I think the key thing for me now is, what is the implications of this COP?
So, looking at the bigger picture, do you think prospective voters are split or divided?
Right.
Like, is the gap more clearer now? Say, this is where I will go, and they already made the decision. They might make their decision already for the next election. Tony.
Yeah, so I think the truth matters, but the more important is what people think is the truth, and I think that really matters, because that affects how they vote. So I think I would classify voters under three groups. There are those who are very pro-ruling party, and they will think that this is something that is a good exercise, to take the opposition to task, because the opposition have always put themselves as people who sort of put a check, right? A check on the ruling party. And for the longest time, people feel that the opposition themselves should also be checked. So for these people, you only make them feel that the ruling party has done a good job. And for those who has always been very anti-establishment, who are very pro-opposition party, to them this will be a witch hunt. No matter how, even if the court case comes out against their leaders, they will think it's a political witch hunt, and they will dig at their heels in, right? And they will still vote in whichever way they vote. I think the key here is the middle ground voters, whether they see this as a witch hunt or they see this as a true fact-finding mission to actually ask for a higher standard of our leaders. So I think it should be noted that sometimes if you push the actions are pushed too far, it might actually backfire on the ruling party instead.
So it's very tricky. So now, a long time ago, you don't have people like us talking about this. Now we have people who are more vocal, but they just do not have the avenue to speak out. So do you think that people will be more vocal after these COP findings, after this whole Raisahan saga, right? Will people be more vocal and speak out and tell whom they want to vote and be bold about it? Do you think it will change the climate of the next election? Kevin?
I think for sure. We already have seen from the last elections where social media and a lot more opinion discussions are going on outside mainstream media, and this is definitely going to add to the discussion, and having platforms like this to talk about it from our different backgrounds, I think really helps and helps people better understand and see things from different perspective. So I think it will affect the voters, but to me it's a double-edged sword lah, the PAP can win or can lose, but I honestly felt that this whole saga was done in the right faith or in the right approach, because we can't have a lie, and I think by having it live stream and telecast, everything was above board, and the PAP, the POC was very open, and I think this is the new politics that we're going to see. You can't fight social media, you can't hide behind mainstream media anymore. The only way now is to be more transparent, and I think that is what will change. I think, to answer your question, that the next election will be a very transparent process, and I think that bodes well for Singapore, for our whole political maturity. Some people would question now, hey, is this the right time? We got budget coming out, we are in the midst of a pandemic and all, but I think there's never a right time for political change, and I think I would say this is one of the key milestones that I think would be very positive because of the transparency. Yeah.
So my question, is it just so timely or it's just coincidental that this thing has to happen when budget and the GST hike and the petrol hike all came out?
The budget has already been scheduled because if you look at the different years, budget is usually February, March. So you can't say that, oh, they purposely do budget at this time to hide, you know. Now, COP, they have to really do it fast. Do I dare to call it fast and dirty? But they have to do it fast because this woman had been called out. Her party had also been called out. So we need to have a fact-finding mission. And when the fact-finding mission is done, they have to come up with the results. And if you keep it after the budget, there's going to be another story. Oh, you keep it so long, you're tweaking it, is it? You know? So why not come out with it fast? Once we get it over and done with, then we do the budget. It's not like where the fact-finding, the results are presented on the same day as the budget. Then I would say it's a distraction. But it's not. It's just presented a couple of days before the budget. So no, I don't think it's any sort of distraction.
Tony, what do you think would be the sentiment for prospective young voters? We know that Workers' Party has a lot of voters from the new housing estate, right? So the young voters, young couples. Do you think this will change the sentiment towards the party or towards the person?
Right. Personally, I feel that a lot of people don't get involved into politics, especially opposition politics, for this very reason, right? They do not want to be dragged through the mud for the slightest misstep they take. So I feel that this might discourage people from standing up. But when it comes to voting, I don't think it will actually make people more fearful of how they want to vote. In fact, I think they might be more emboldened that, okay, so this is how it's going to go, and this is how I show my displeasure, right, at what I think is a witch hunt. Yeah, like Mr. Lau Tia Kang has mentioned, even if the leaders are indeed fined more than $2,000 or imprisoned above a certain number of days, where they will be disqualified for office for the next election, there's no lack of talent, right, in the opposition camp. So I think the opposition voters will always have someone to vote for, right? It doesn't change the sentiments on the ground very much.
I think it will, because of the leadership of the Workers' Party. I mean, you can't doubt, that we had a very unique insight into the functioning of a political party, how they corresponded with their members, how they organized and stuff. And it seems to be quite wishy-washy, which was quite shocking. But you can't help it. They are a growing organization, So I'm not saying it's well run or not well run, but this really gave us an inside look into the functioning, decision making of a political party, and I think it would affect, if they don't change or they don't come and present themselves. To me, every crisis is an opportunity for an organization to showcase. And I think it is a perfect time Workers' Party or any political party, even the PAP, show how they operate. Really come out and really say, hey, this is how we operate. We want to show you how we make decisions, how we debate internally, how we go through policy, because these used to happen behind the scenes. Is a party member's speech cleared before he or she speaks in Parliament? We didn't know, but now we know it is screened. So I think this has really changed. And voters who want to know now, it's like investors. If I want to invest in your company, I want to know how you function, what's your profitability, And I think it will change. Yes, there are three groups of voters, and in the middle ground, we will say, hey, yeah, show me. And if I was in the Workers' Party, I would really take this opportunity to showcase, how we run, because we want you to have faith in us, faith in our system, you know. And I think that would be the major change I would see.
Okay, then I would like to ask Judith this question. Does this Raisa Han saga and the COP findings would shape up the leaders that we have today and the future leaders that we're going to have to be more transparent, not to lie, to make sure that the facts are straight? And it's like this whole thing, would it produce better leaders in the future?
I think that's a learning point. You know, a lot of people tend to think that they can get away with lying, but this shows that, hey, you'll be called out. You definitely will be called out, especially when you accused a big organization that has all its cogs and all that running of some wrongdoing. Look, you accuse the police. You can't accuse the police because they will come up with, they have their people to go and investigate to see who has done wrong within the organization. Then she's called out. She lied. And it's a teaching point to tell perhaps the younger people who may be very hot-blooded and want to champion certain issues, to make sure that they have their facts all lined up, their little ducks all lined up before they present it. Case in point is someone like MP Louis Ng. When he wants to bring up a certain issue, he's always doing his homework. And if he doesn't have the facts, he would actually go down and talk to people, do surveys and all that. And that's when he gets all these facts, the sentiments on the ground, before he stands up and say, look, people should not be smoking in the corridors of HDB flat because you don't know who is taking in your secondhand smoke. And then he has his numbers. So yeah, I think it has sort of like clean off the fog with Lemon Pledge. And you can actually look at how you need to be transparent. Your glass has to be nice and shiny.
Kilat lah.
Yeah, basically kilat lah. And in a way, it shows that you have integrity. It shows that the people can actually trust you, what PM had said. And it's not only for the governed, but also for those who are governing.
So do you think, Tony, that this whole COP finding and the Raisa Han saga would instill fear from people joining the opposition, or they would have more people stepping forward to be the voice for the opposition?
I think it would have a filtering effect. That means people who want to use the platform to champion their causes. So I think what Raisa Khan did was that she took what's online into real life. So in online, we have keyboard warriors. There are no repercussions for spewing lies, right? Just to prove a point. So I think she took that a bit into real life, right? So and for
a
people,
little bit too far.
A little bit too far, right? She took that into real life and it blew up right in her face. So I think it would discourage these people who just want to champion their own beliefs, right, without the facts. But for those who have an intention to join politics for the right reasons and are prepared to put in the hard work, like MP Louis Ng, who are prepared to do the groundwork and support themselves, I think this actually sort of strengthens their will and actually gives them a good lesson in what is expected of me, when I finally get the chance to push my cause.
Now, we have discussed this in so many spectrum, in so many verticals. Before we wrap this up, right, I would like to ask Kevin first. Seeing this political scene gives us a new light. Oh, this is how it should be. This is what it should not be. It gives us a new education channel. Oh, this is what they have done. Oh, this is what they should not do in Parliament and whatsoever. So, what kind of leader do you envision to have?
I think when we talk about leaders and political leaders, I think it's that gumption that he would stick it out. He would fight the fight. Of course, you have your basic above board, honest and stuff like that. But let's say Pritam is an example, who sticks to his ground, who stood by his people. That's a kind of leader, But the person has to be decisive. He needs to know that that he cannot he cannot compromise, because someone is not necessarily bad, but he just makes one compromise of his standards and all hell break loose. And I think that's what we have seen from the Rahisa Khan saga. So you ask me for what kind of a leader, I think I need someone who's very sure, very confident, in terms of not only managing his political party, but being able to stand there we all see the leader of the opposition, he's against the whole house, but he holds his ground. He's factual. He is quick. He sees things that a lot of people don't see. It's not an easy job, but I think that is one of the kind of leaders that we're looking for, or for me.
The one that should not compromise the values for the people, or at least for himself.
Even the PAP has said this. They do have to make hard decisions. If they make decisions based on what the population wants, or the
more popular decisions,
Singapore wouldn't be where we are here today. So sometimes the leader has to make that hard decision, and that's what is expected. You are there to make that hard decisions.
Okay. What about you, Judith?
Someone like Kevin, I agree that the person should not compromise on values or ethics. But I would add this: the person has to be a visionary, will be able to see far, and can lead the country into the future rather than now. So the old leaders like Dr. Goh Keng Swee, like Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, they're visionaries. Then they were able to mete out the hard punishments as well as give out the carrots, and in the end, Singapore is where it is today.
And maybe from Tony, you always give a different perspective from a different lens. What kind of leader would be ideal for you?
Right. I think for me, a leader, the ideal leader is someone who cares for the people. Of course, first of all, the values must all be right? And then care for the people, nation before self, before party, right? And although it's all politics, but I hope the ideal leader is one that plays less politics, right? Less rhetoric. And
how is that possible? Play less politics?
No, I think that more time should be spent on like improving the well-being of the people than improving the well-being of the party.
I believe that a leader should be less dirty, or just not dirty, but it's so hard.
Is there less politics?
Not to have that in politics. But I believe that besides being kind, a leader needs to be as fair as possible. It's easy to be kind, it's harder to be fair. And we just hope that a fair trial will be up for those who will be getting the trial, Pritam and Faisal Manap, and hopefully the landscape for Singapore politics will be better after this saga. Having said that, there you go for Unwrapped for this week. Thank you.